Hello, hello, hello. I see some familiar faces. We are going live in just a second here for Tags Live. I think we can go live now. What is going on? You are watching and, of course, listening to Tags Live, aka Talk About Gay Sex, the live edition, where we are here every Wednesday night on the Crowdcast platform. I am your host, Steve V, alongside Kodi Maurice Doggette, my co-host. How you doing, Kodi?
Hello, darling. I'm doing wonderful this evening. I'm living in the laps of luxury, darling.
I love it. I love it. It looks fabulous over there.
It is.
He's in my apartment for a little insider joke there,
Right.
staying with me. I will see you tomorrow night. I am in Los Angeles last night here in the sunny state, and it's been awesome here being my whole entire trip. And I was even snuck over today to Rough Trade to get Bader Bomb that we've been talking about. Really cool stuff.
Nice.
I used it in a scene recently with Tantric Fitness Will and his Beau Daniel, and we had some really good results for an upcoming scene that we filmed for both of our OnlyFans Just for Fans channel. So Bader Bomb, yeah. So I can't wait. There's scented and unscented, Kodi. So
Ooh.
I said, let me just get both and call it a day.
What does it smell like?
Woodsy that was the thing. I'm like, well, what does it smell like? He said, earthy, woodsy. He's like, I can't let you smell it. It's sealed. I said, okay, well, that just makes, since I don't know when I'm going to be back in LA. And of course you can get it online, but I just decided to get two because I will for sure go through it. No problem there. Yeah.
I have more questions, but we'll talk later.
We'll talk later. I'm sure a little bit later on this show, we're excited to bring on our very special guest, Brody El-Achi, who is on the current show that everybody is talking about on Peacock, Couple to Throuple. And we've got so many questions for Brody. Stay tuned for that. Kodi, oh my goodness, so many hot topics to get into on this episode. And starting off with LGBTQ plus identification in a Gallop poll has reached new heights, and we're talking up to 7.6%. Well, the proportion of U.S. adults identifying as LGBTQ plus has continued to increase, reaching a new high of 7.6%. And they did this came out Wednesday morning, and they polled over 10,000 people by phone and 12,000 to be correct. And the polling organization asked respondents whether they identified as heterosexual, lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, or something else. And over 85.6 were straight, not a surprise there, or heterosexual, and 7.6, like I mentioned, chose one or more identities within the LGBTQ plus community, and 6% declined to say. But overall, the findings show, Kodi, that younger generations are twice as likely as the generations that preceded them to identify as LGBTQ plus. And this is just really exciting, I think. It doesn't sound like a lot, but earlier numbers in the past were at 4.4%. So it really is a big deal. And, the Gallup poll is responsible for many things at times. When they do these pollings, it's just to find out societal, how we're doing. But they're important because I think they speak to what's going on in our culture today. I mean, in a little bit, we're going to be talking to Brody, who's on, I think, a very progressive show about thruples. We wouldn't be having this conversation even when we probably started this show on Tags podcast about 7 years ago. And even before that, we wouldn't be talking about a lot of the other letters in our acronym. What do you think about this when you hear that more and more younger generations that preceded us are identifying within the LGBTQ plus community?
I love it. I think it's amazing. And it just goes to show you how a more welcoming and affirming society can have positive effects on how you perceive yourself, how you learn about gender identity, and how you ultimately define yourself. So I give kudos to our society for being better. It's not perfect right now, but I can't even imagine back when I was young, back in my day, if I
Uh-oh, they're not pulling out that card.
Grandpa's saying back in his day, but I
Yeah.
think back then I can't even imagine that this number would be as high as it is right now. So I'm going to give us a pat on the back right now for this.
Absolutely. I just think we're going to be seeing more and more of this. Moving on, we've got a lot of topics to get into in front of a virtual audience, and we want you guys to weigh in. We'll read some of your comments. Of course, if you have questions for Brody coming up, put those in the comment section. Well, Marvel shocker, Kodi, and I know you're a big Marvel fan, right?
I sent you this story.
You sent me this. X-Men 97 creator Beau DeMayo was fired weeks before the premiere of a series that he worked on, Moon Knight, Knight, and Blade will no longer be promoting the show or moving forward with future seasons. And it came as quite of a shock because DeMayo, a Marvel regular who worked on live action series Moon Knight, as well as early drafts of the company's delayed but still upcoming vampire thriller Blade, had completed writing duties on season 2 of X-Men 97 and was lining up press and making plans to, put the show out there that would have debuted today, actually, March 13th. He was even discussing loose ideas on a third possible season. But earlier in the week, last week, Marvel and DeMayo suddenly parted ways. And Kodi, we don't really know exactly why. I know you've got some speculations.
I do.
As we can talk about, one of which, and if any of you, I wish we had the picture to put in our thing, but Beau DeMayo is really hot and sexy, and he also started an OnlyFans. You were telling me he started it during the writer's strike, and basically he didn't know if he was going to get another writing gig or how long the strike was going to last. That's a story that we've heard a lot from many people on, hey, you got to pay the bills. What do you say?
Yeah. I completely see his point in opening that OnlyFans. I am really, really shocked that he was fired from the show right before it was supposed to premiere. So it's really wild and shocking to me. So I don't understand why they would do something like this. He deleted all of his social media. So that is something else that is very telling. It's just something that I can't wrap my head around. But if it is the fact that he had an OnlyFans, and because Disney is a very family friendly, yes, family friendly is what I wanted to say, company. So I can see that possibly being the reason, but I can't say for certain. That's all alleged, and I do think that if that is the reason, then it just shows how much we have to grow as a society in order for us to be more sexually open, because OnlyFans is not really it's not that bad. It's something that you do he didn't even have an explicit OnlyFans. It's something that he was doing for fun, to get a little cash on the side to hold him over. So it's completely understandable. Why are people judging him for this allegedly?
Yeah.
This is something that he's just doing on the side.
Well, there's another person we've talked a lot about. I don't have the name in front of me. I'm not sure if he was Disney, but he was a child star that ultimately went off to do OnlyFans. He's not looking back.
Benson.
What's his name?
Dan Benson from Wizards of Waverly Place. Oh my gosh. How do I know these things?
Thank you. That's why you're on the show. That's why you're a co-producer on the show. And so if we were to kind of parallel the stories, he's somebody that went from a younger, and that series was on what network was that one on?
It was on Disney. Yeah.
Disney. Okay. So he's not looking back, actually. There's even talks of what's the name of the show? Wizards of Waverly Place. Waverly Place. Obviously, I'm not a Disney consumer here. No surprise or shocker there. But I think that they're actually making a reboot of his show, and he's like, yeah, no. I mean, where it would be fun to come back in many ways, I am not looking back. He's probably making more bank now than he ever made. Also, with OnlyFans, I was talking to a friend of mine recently, and he was up for a commercial that he kind of went into it loosely, and he has an OnlyFans page. He's like, well, I went up for this. It's like, I don't really think that they're going to hire me anyway, because once they find out I do porn, his words, that I don't think that, they're going to do a deep dive and they're not even going to cast me. And this was really for like a dancer position, not a speaking role of any sorts that I knew of. And so I do think that if, it can sadly in many ways, eliminate you from the casting, particularly if it's family friendly or just content that's going to go out to the masses.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just think that's where we're at right now.
I do have that picture of Beau DeMayo if you want to see it. I
Sure,
uploaded
put it out for the people, and I'll try and put this
let's
on
do it.
podcast.com. Yeah, then there
That is what
is
this man
in all his glory.
I know, right? Bring back the OnlyFans, babe, because you.
Yeah, maybe he's like the other guy and it's kind of like, oh, well, I can write something. At this point, he could probably do the OnlyFans, show more explicit content, write his own series, because nobody can take that away from him, his creative process, and start his own digital content that is really hot in the comic sphere. So I say, and he's probably made a lot of money throughout the years anyway, hopefully, but we'll see where this goes.
Yeah, I was really excited for X-Men 97, but this has kind of put a dampener on my excitement for the show. It's just really sad to see this happen, and there's so much conjecture around it, and I just kind of want to know what the reason was for his firing. So, yeah.
Moving over to Florida, lawmakers over in Florida are voting to raise the stripping age from 18 to 21. Florida lawmakers say the measure is meant to stop sex trafficking, and young adults working at strip clubs are likely to be trafficked, according to lawmakers, and sold into prostitution and sex slavery, says Representative David Borrero. And during legislature debate, we ought to be on the side of young girls who are barely legal. But as we know, Kodi, this would go to our male counterparts as well. And places like, there's many places in Miami, Fort Lauderdale, Boardwalk. I can think of many spaces that I like to go when I am in Florida.
I thought we were naming names. I was like, I could run down a list for you really quick.
Spots that we like to go to that feature male strippers. And I, as a former male stripper back in the day, in the 90s in San Francisco, California, I started mine probably a little late, according to this, at 25. And I thought I was pretty young and naive at the time. I'm one of those Capricorns, though, Kodi, where we get better with age and we tend to grow and mature better. It just is known in my signology, not yours, mine. But
it's about to fall on.
I know you were spin it. Maybe by being my BFF,
no, kids age well too. All right.
Okay. But I think that, regarding this, do you think that 18 is too young to be a stripper? I don't even know how I weigh in on this. Your chances are you're just finishing high school, usually.
Yeah. So the way I looked at it was, would I want an 18-year-old dancing all up on me in a sexual manner? And the answer is no to that. So that's the position that I'm going to come from. I think that I find it really shocking that I actually agree with something that Florida is doing. And Ron DeSantis specifically, I find it really, really shocking that I am putting my stamp of approval on this. But here we are. A broken clock is right twice a day. So they might be getting this one right. I do think that they have ulterior motives with this, because I think that they are doing more to push their Christian agenda onto everyone. And in the article, they even stated that this is probably the first step before they even go to ban 18 to 20-year-olds from doing porn as well. Another component for me personally is that I do not think that anybody who's under the age of 21 should be in anywhere that they serve alcohol. So even in the restaurant that I work in, I think that we shouldn't be having anybody under 21 there, because things happen. Let's just put it that way. So
But here's the thing. I just looked it up right now because many of what you were saying, I was like, oh, interesting point. However, I looked up how old you have to be to start an OnlyFans, and it's 18. So they can start as early as 18. Stripping, yes, it might be in your own home. Now you're going to be in a place potentially with alcohol or not, and you are subjecting yourself, but I don't know. I just think, is it really gonna? It might get you not to be a stripper, but you can do an OnlyFans. Do you see a difference in those two things?
yeah,
Would you
because just go ahead. What were you
go
gonna say?
ahead?
So I do see a difference because nobody is touching you. And when you're on the OnlyFans, I would consider doing an OnlyFans. I would be too shy to strip for anybody other than my man. How about that?
Yeah, yeah.
So also the alcohol for me is a big component of it. Maybe mainly just because I've seen it before. And I've seen people that are underage get really, really intoxicated. And it's not a pretty sight, and you can get in a lot of trouble for it. So those are my two main reasons for it.
Yeah. What do you think about the whole thing about that their motive is to combat sex trafficking and prostitution? I mean, I think a 21-year-old could equally be prey. Many people can be prey to it if you don't know, you know what I mean?
Yeah, even me at my big age, I could be sex trafficked tomorrow. I don't know. I could be.
Really
What's
interesting.
what is the face, Steve? What is that face that you're
It's a
making?
phase. I don't know. You could be, but yes. Let's hope you're not. Let's hope nobody is anymore. But I know it's a problem. So yeah.
Yeah. What do you
Um,
think? How are you weighing in? Would you want
I think
someone that
it's
is 18 to dance up on you?
not necessarily, although I think it's legal for me to have sex with an 18-year-old.
It
Doesn't
is.
mean I really
Yeah.
want. I mean, I don't know what that cutoff is. I think it's more everybody matures in a different way. I would not have been ready at 18. I can speak from my own. I
Mhm.
wasn't ready until 25 to be a stripper. So I can only go from my experience. Do I think Florida is constantly enacting bans and rules and regulations towards our community? Yes.
Yes.
Do I think
Yes.
that this is maybe to a faux, say that they're really it's for sex trafficking, prostitution? I don't know if I really believe that. I think it's a larger issue because we just continuously hear about Florida. So yeah, that's where I kind of weigh in on that. Kind of, I don't know, but I think it's
But
individually
it's
based.
suspect because it's Florida.
It
Exactly.
is, and I think that's yeah, it just is. This would be a really good time that to talk about our sponsor. This episode is sponsored by Joy Mode, and I really love this product, the Sexual Performance Booster. I used it earlier today when I went to Gold's Gym here in Hollywood, and it all about blood flow. L-arginine, which is really about blood flow and getting that muscle pump that you're looking for. But more importantly, it's really good, Kodi, to get you hard down there and be ready.
Hey.
It's kind of like a pre-workout, but for sex. And that's why I really like it. Super easy. You just put one of these little sachets, you put it in your wallet and take it with you whenever you want to be ready and raring to go. It's all natural, so you don't have to worry about it being chemically driven. And 6 to 8 ounces of water 45 minutes before a workout or a sex workout, and you're good to go. And right now we're giving 20% off, so use our promo code. Go to usejoymode.com/tags, and when you get to checkout, use our promo code tags, TAGS. You'll get 20% off, 20% off plus free shipping, and stay ready. And this is really good. Use joymode.com. So that's what I got to say on that.
Is it really called a sachet?
Like a little sachet, packet. Like a
Oh,
care
okay.
packet. One of
Okay, I
those.
got
I
it.
could show it
Yeah.
to you really quickly since we
Let
got a
me see.
minute. And I don't
Yeah.
see our little guest lined up like we said
I
he was there. So you might
yeah,
want to
I'm gonna
invite him
I'm gonna
up
invite him
while I
again.
show
Yeah.
you guys. I'll just show you what it looks like. And we can get. Oh,
Oh,
there he is. Oh, good. I don't
there
have to
he
do
is.
that.
He's on it.
Hey, I'm ready to go. How's it going?
Hello, hello, hello. We want to welcome our very special guest, Brody El-Achi, to the show, who is currently in the hot Peacock show that it's so juicy. couple to throuple, and I've binge watched the entire season. Love it so much. I couldn't think of a more progressive show out there right now. Welcome, Brody.
Thank you guys. Thank you so much. First off for the intro, and then for hyping the show up. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you for coming, Brody.
Of course.
It's good to see you again.
Likewise.
So, Brody, we have so many questions to ask you. First of all, or if you're comfortable telling us, how do you identify? Because, well, let me just set up the show. The show, if you haven't watched it yet, like I said, it's on Peacock, and it's comprised of couples, and many of them are female, male. There's a gay couple on there. There's one that identifies as non-binary, which is really great. And it's the couples, and then it's the singles that they bring in who they want to potentially become a throuple with. And they go through a couple cycles of them. You come in on episode 6, I believe, but you correct me if I'm wrong.
That's 6.
First off, question, how do you identify, and what did you know about throuples before the show?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. So I don't necessarily label things per se. It's a very modern way to answer. But no, if I vibe with you, I vibe with you. That's kind of where it is at the end of the day. And what really drew me to the show was, the fact that we have seen so many seasons of Love Island UK, Love Island US, so many of these dating shows. But then there was not a show that really had, representation in terms of different ways of thinking. The different shows have representation in terms of diversity of people, which is fantastic. But this show really had that and then some, which was a huge draw for me.
Nice.
Love it. So have you had any experiences as far as throuples were concerned before going on the show? What was your dating experience like before going on the show?
Yeah. No experiences with throuples or anything like that. But, it was always something that was of interest per se. I don't know. I'm one of those people that, whether it comes to relationships or food or travel, anything like that, I always say, how do I know I don't like something if I haven't tried it? Right. So, it seemed like a very interesting opportunity. And I was like, let's go for this.
Yeah, I mean, I think thruples have really come into the ethosphere. They've probably been around forever, but the communication of it, learning about it, I actually know a few now more than ever. And it's very normalized when you're around them. I'm curious, what's your longest relationship you've been in, and did you ever think about bringing a throuple into that, or did you have an open relationship?
Yeah, so I've never had an open relationship. The longest relationship I've been in was almost a year, and it was a fantastic relationship. Definitely learned a lot, but it comes to the understanding of both people kind of being on the same page. And that wasn't a conversation that we had because both of us weren't on the same page in that sense.
Okay.
I think, if it was a situation that were to develop into a potential throuple situation, both people need to sit down, discuss it, write down boundaries, and really understand what works and what doesn't work for the other. And also, if someone were to bring in a third for the relationship, that third also needs to be really a part of the relationship. I, again, wasn't very familiar with this lifestyle before the show, but, having learned a lot from, fellow castmates and whatnot, oftentimes, or, if it's not done properly, sometimes that third can come in feeling like an object as opposed to being a part of the relationship. Because at the end of the day, you're trying to build a relationship with 3 people, not just 2 plus 1, if that makes sense.
Correct. Yes.
Totally does. So you mentioned boundaries and working on things. What else do you find is necessary for a successful throuple relationship type deal?
I would say, again, not having been in one, but having seen them play out throughout the show, I would say, aside from the boundaries, is the mutual respect for each other. And the opportunities to be able to sit down and really communicate your feelings and what you're thinking, because you never want to hold something in and then, your partner doesn't know, and then, causes an issue. So definitely mutual respect, communication, and just being able to talk about your boundaries and setting them.
Interesting.
Well, we got to talk about the show, and you're brought in a mixer on episode 6. Many
That's
of the
right.
couples have already lived the experience in this beautiful house, which can you
Funny.
tell us where it was? Was it Panama?
It was in Panama. That's right.
Oh my
Yep.
God, gorgeous. I really want to go to Panama now. It was a good sales pitch for that. But no, definitely it was gorgeous. But you're brought in midway through the show. It's episode 6. People
That's
have
right.
already, they know each other. What's that experience coming in to people that already have like experienced, they've already know each other.
Right. So for me, that definitely wasn't an issue. I'm, one to just jump right into things. But it was funny because, we were kind of in the back getting mic'd up, and, the mixer was happening and no one knew we were coming. We were like kind of outside of the house getting mic'd up, and, production's like, it's okay to be nervous. Like, do you need something? Like, we understand. I'm like, I'm not. I'm like, just let's get this going. I'm ready to go. And then, we walk in, Olivia and I are hand in hand with our masks on. And then,
Very dramatic opening. I love how you guys walked in. Yes. That was a great intro.
Better.
Yeah.
We walk in and then everyone just stops what they're doing, just like staring at us. And, to me, that was just like, I felt good. I'm like, hey, we're here, we're ready. But the difficult part, it wasn't hard meeting people or chatting with people. To me, that just comes naturally. The difficult part is, first off, we came in knowing nothing. We didn't know who was a single, who was a couple, who was already throupled up, who was living in the house, who wasn't. So we got thrown in, and I think we had like an hour, maybe hour and a half. So imagine getting to know 4 couples plus the 4 throuple situation with them, and then all the other singles, and not knowing who was who. So I was sitting there just chit-chatting with everyone, and I think that is what made it a little difficult to develop. I mean, how much can you develop a connection in an hour and a half? But really showcase and develop those potential relationships in just such a short amount of time. And I think having context beforehand would have been very helpful to know, who was already in the house, who was a couple, who was a single, who was this, who was that. That would have been very helpful instead of kind of coming in blindsided. But at the end of the day, I mean, it was a great experience. The singles were all absolutely amazing. The couples were all, equally as amazing. It was a great time.
That's awesome. And it sounds intense, really. It sounds like an up and down roller coaster ride that you were on. So that
Absolutely.
I'm really intrigued with.
Yeah, it was definitely a roller coaster ride. I guess now I can talk about it, but so we got brought in, I believe it was on a Friday or Saturday. And that Wednesday, I had just like had enough. I was like, I'm ready to go home. I had known they'd been filming for the past few weeks, and I was like, at this point, I'm just gonna go home. We'll just chalk it up as like a vacation in Panama and like move on. But then they were like, no, we really recommend you stay a little longer. And I was like, all right.
Oh, really?
Like, okay. So I was like, you know what? Stay a little bit longer. And then, it was obviously a great result. So
Fabulous. So I was just really taken with how they did a lot of work with the couples as far as what they can, building their relationships and things of that nature. How was that? Are you aware of how that was built into the show at all, or what do you think about these things that the challenges that they did in order to build their relationship?
Yeah, right. I mean, we definitely weren't privy as singles since we weren't, on site at the villa. But obviously I know that the challenges happened. I know at the end of the day, a lot of them were to really build trust and, in a way, teamwork with your other throuple. And it was kind of competitive too, because, a lot of people on the show are competitive. So it's like, we don't want these people to win. Like, we want to win. So in that sense, it, in a way, built camaraderie as well. I feel like, obviously it's a great cast overall, but I feel like in a way the couples had their own camaraderie, and then the singles kind of formed our own camaraderie.
Interesting.
So,
Yeah, because you don't know who's going to pick who. You said you were just thrown into the mix. Yeah, it's really interesting. I mean, now reflecting on this and any relationship that you might start up from this point on, would you consider a throuple as opposed to on this show? We talk a lot about throuples, which are very different from an open relationship, which are very different from a threesome.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
how would you maybe approach any of your upcoming relationships?
I think that's hard to say because it just really depends on who my partner is and it depends on what our vibe is together.
Yeah.
It's very hard to answer that question. It just who knows what's out there. So
I mean, that's
Yeah.
such a great point because I think sexuality these days, thank goodness, is much more fluid. We just did a Gallup poll, which shows more and more younger people are that much more open to identifying as LGBTQ plus. Some people don't want to put that label on them. And I think some of us that aren't of those younger ages we're learning from younger cultures, younger generations to
yeah,
be more free and open. And a lot of it really is who you are with, and that's kind of refreshing for
exactly.
sexuality.
Exactly. It's definitely who you are with and kind of where you are obviously in the country. Like I'm lucky enough to be living in New York. I've been here for, a little over 5 years. So here everyone's doing their thing. It's
Yeah.
as open and as, exciting as possible. But then, other places in the country are obviously not as accepting. So it's very interesting to see what the dynamics are moving forward with this younger generation just being overall more open.
Oh, that's wonderful. I kind of want to backtrack just a second because you touched on the other singles having their own camaraderie behind the scenes. What was that like? What was being with the other singles in the background kind of like?
Yeah, definitely. So they wanted everyone's first time meeting to be on camera, which is
Okay.
natural.
Fair.
Yeah. Yeah.
Singles all met. This was before Olivia and I joined. The singles all were hanging out and like we're able to, go to dinners together, obviously with production, making sure we're not doing anything too crazy. But, go to dinner together, go to the gym, go to the pool. And Olivia and I were just kind of like secluded in our own space without knowing who was who. So
Mhm.
finally, when we were able to come on and meet everyone else on camera, then back at the resort, we were able to go to dinners together, go to the gym, go to the beach. So it was very easy to build that camaraderie with such like-minded individuals. And at the end of the day, how many people can say that they were in Panama shooting such an innovative show, right? So
Mhm.
couples or singles, we all kind of have that mutual bond over that mutual experience. And then, kind of breaking it down even more, the singles, same situation. Same bonds were built. Because we all had basically the same experience, especially not or the majority of us not having been chosen to be in the villa.
Yeah, it's great. I really praise the show in many ways for its sex progressiveness, but also it's a lot of people that would be interested in finding a throuple. This was one a lot of people think of reality shows as like it's so staged, and I'm sure there was components of that, but you knew that you were going to meet couples that were open to finding a third for a throuple. And I think we get a lot of questions on this show that say, well, I don't know how to go about that. This was a really nice pooling of people, of couples that were looking for that and singles that were open to being a part of it. And it wasn't just one node, it was non-binary people, it was heterosexual people, it was pansexuals. And I think they did a really good job with that. This isn't your first foray into reality TV.
That's
You've been
right.
on another show, The Big Shot, that was with
That's
Bethany
right.
Frankel.
Yeah, so a
Um,
very
yeah,
different experience.
yeah. Talk about the differences.
So that show was more of a apprentice like reality show. So Bethany wanted someone to be her VP of operations, for her Bethany brand. That show is again very different. First off, we filmed in October, November of 2020. So like prime pandemic.
Pandemic.
Prime.
Yeah.
So it was a very small cast. I was actually the youngest contestant there by like years, which was really cool. Because like at the end of the day, Bethany handpicked people based on their resumes and their, you know, backgrounds and criteria.
Sure.
It was cool kind of being one of the youngest people there, or actually the youngest. And then I was like one of 2 or 3 guys there in general. So that was all very nice. But then, you know, Bethany, without telling production, without telling anyone, decides to eliminate half the cast the first night.
Wow.
That's literally anyone.
Were you in that first cast?
I was.
Okay.
But you know, totally fine. You want to make drama, great, fantastic. But at least tell production, at least tell the cameramen so they know which way to turn.
The cameras were just swirling all around. You were like, what is going on?
Chaos ensued. But you know, I'm not one of those people that gives up that easily. You're gonna tell me no once. I'm persistent.
Right.
I actually wrote her a letter that I gave it through to production. I was like, hey, give this to Bethany, see what happens. They were like, oh, we don't know. We'll try. I was like, yeah, I wrote the letter. I was like, we're moving on. And then I get sent back home. I got a call from Bethany herself, like on my cell, was like, hey, I made a mistake with you. Can you come back on? And I was like,
hey,
wow. Like, but I was like, yeah, of course. So then
right.
for a little bit. So
Really cool.
That's amazing.
Well, it begs the question. You're now on this hot show with Peacock, coupled to Throuple. Bethany Frankel's calling you. Will you do more reality TV?
That is the goal. I absolutely would love to do TV in general. I don't know. For some reason, I know most people aren't comfortable around cameras. I love cameras. I myself, you know, it's easy. To me, it takes a special person or a specific person to be able to just be so natural, I feel like, on camera without being like, in a way, one of 2 ways, either very acty or very just like shy and, you know, quiet and like more reserved. Mm-hmm. I'm myself with a camera on, with a camera off. I'm myself regardless. Absolutely.
But it's interesting. We're a sex podcast. This is a show about thruples, the one you're from.
Yeah.
Couple to thruples. There's many scenes where there's intimacy that we see going on in the bedrooms. Would you be comfortable intimately being involved with a couple?
I think that's difficult to say because I wasn't necessarily put in the position to experience it. But again, I mean, at the end of the day, if I'm just being myself and there just happens to be cameras around, that's that.
Love it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Wow. All right.
Cool. Kodi, did you have another?
I don't have any more. No. Do you have anything else you want to say?
No, other than did you, I'm just curious, how much did you tell your family and what does your family and friends think about your reality TV as well as like this show?
Family doesn't know too much, which I think is fine. I think it's definitely
they're learning more and more.
Yeah.
I mean, it is on Peacock, right?
Yeah. No, it's fine. Friends are supportive. They know that I'm just being myself. So, you know, they're always going to support me, which is awesome.
I love it. Okay.
You're very charismatic.
Very charismatic, great TV, and very nice, I must say, as well. Yeah. Where can people follow you? Where would you like people to follow you to keep up with you?
Of course. My Instagram is at Brody El-Achi official. I can send that to you guys, type it out.
Yeah, we'll put it on show notes.
ELACHI official. And then my TikTok is where I do a lot more of my fashion, get ready with me, you know, talk about fashion and lifestyle and whatnot. That's just my first and last name, Brody El-Achi.
Nice. And the show, is there a reunion coming? Anything to look forward to, or it's wrapped?
Listen, the people are asking for a reunion.
It's a juicy show. I mean,
call your Peacock reps. They're asking for a reunion. So we'll see.
Okay.
All right. I'm going to call them right now.
Sending much more success to you, Brody. It's Brody El-Achi. Thank you so much. You've been great.
Thank you so much, guys. This was a lot of fun. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Brody.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Nice.
All right.
Love it. Hey there, Steve V of Tags here, aka Sexy Poppy Steve V. Woo, I have been busy here in LA for the last week and a half. Currently taking a break from shooting not one, but 2 videos for my OnlyFans and finding I have the stamina to shoot even more. Between my weekly workouts I've been getting in and my sex scenes I've been producing, I really need to be able to perform and have the energy to keep going strong. Well, my favorite supplement you've probably heard me talk about is our sponsor, Joy Mode, specifically their sexual performance booster. It's got all the good ingredients to support blood flow and keep my energy up for my workouts in the gym and in the bedroom. I mean, it's like a pre-workout, but for sex. Joy Mode makes all natural and science-backed supplements dedicated to helping men perform better across their core functions. Besides blood flow, which is key for my energy, Joy Mode's sexual performance booster is every guy's solution for things like firmness, stamina, and performance. And that's because it has ingredients you recognize like clinically supported doses of arginine nitrate, L-citrulline, Panax ginseng, and vitamin C. Not scary things like the pills you get at the gas station or worse, prescribed ED medication that doesn't always react well with your body and can wind you up in the hospital. It's also easy to use. Simply take a packet of the Sexual Performance Booster and mix it with 6 to 8 ounces of water. You can drink it 45 minutes or up to 4 hours before your workout, or better yet, that hot hookup you've been looking forward to all day. I don't know about you, but I'll never go back to those potentially dangerous over-the-counter or prescribed ED medications since now I've got Joy Mode. And the little packets are so small enough that you can keep in your wallet. That way, I'm always prepared for a hot scene or a hookup. So I want you to experience the same things I have been with Joy Mode. Simply go to usejoymode.com/tags and get 20% off with our code TAGS, TAGS, at checkout. That's 20% off and free shipping with the code TAGS at usejoymode.com/tags. Great sex solved naturally. I think you can remove them there, Kodi. Love it. Oh my goodness. They're so cool. I love the show so much.
I only watched the first 8 episodes or what have you that were out in a day and a half.
It's just refreshing to see a show that's about a modern day, sexual progressive situation. And they have a sex expert on there that I really appreciate. And she really does a good job of, the psychology of it all. And like you were talking about, the various stages that people can go through and putting them to the limit. So I like it. I'm here for it.
Yeah,
Okay.
because it's about more than just sex. It's about compatibility. It's about how you relate to one another. It's about communication. There's so many facets that go into a powerful and strong throuple unit.
Absolutely. Well, okay, we've got to move on. And I wanted to bring up a discussion with you that I was having with, we've worked with Vakaya. We were on the Vakaya Puerto Vallarta resort back in October of 2023. I was recently on the Caribbean cruise in this particular year and hoping to work with them more. I'm helping them with some projects right now, but I was talking to Patrick of Vakaya, and he really wants to change the idea of sex positivity to sex progressiveness that Vakaya is really putting forth. Specifically when he's talking about their red light district that you can find on almost any Vakaya trip that they plan. And we're very familiar with the red light district, which is amazing. And
little old me.
Yes, you are on a sex podcast. And I really, sometimes when people want to change things, I'm like, we've been using sex positivity for so long. I use it a lot on this show. I actually really love sex progressive because my sister and I had a site for so many years called Progressive Pulse. And the reason that we started that was because I wanted anything that we were talking about lifestyle wise, because we did fashion, art, travel, even politics, I wanted it to be on the progressive end of it, which means moving forward. And I also wanted it to be on the pulse of what was happening right now. So where those two components meet, I was all about, well, when looking up, everybody knows what positive means, but if I were just to look it up, the quality
Okay.
or state of being positive, something that is positive. However, progressive is moving forward and onward. And I think that that's what is a shift that we should all be taking, because I think that sex for everybody, I mean, we were just talked to Brody on the show, and he says he doesn't know where he would be if faced with a throuple, because it would all align with who that person was or who that those people were. And so that just insinuates that we're moving forward. Versus positive, you can just have a positive attitude about it. Somebody could have a positive attitude about sex, but not be stagnant. Yes, I think it's great that you do that. I think it's great that somebody does this to me. But progressive means moving forward and always willing to push and move forward and grow. And so I say yes to sex progressiveness or sex progressive over sex positivity. How do you weigh in on these two terms?
I see your point. I do think that both of those things kind of go hand in hand. So maybe a conjunction of the two, sex positive progression.
No,
I don't
it
know.
was one or the other, not
I'm,
with diplomacy here.
I'm riding the fence today. I can't help it.
Now we'll have a meeting and a talk about this.
Oh, okay. No, pick
We are
a
an
side.
opinion,
Pick
but
a
no.
side.
No, you're
Well,
yeah, I get it.
yeah, but because you can't really progress unless there are positive attitudes towards a certain thing. So I definitely see what you're saying, and what you're pointing to, but I feel like it might be a little bit audacious to get people to be sexually progressive, especially because people I feel like are really so set in their ways. I think that I hate to say this. I feel like we should be reaching for fruit that is within our grasp. Does that make sense? Because I feel like if we are reaching for something that is too far away, then we might not be able to get to that point or that place.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not mad at positivity. It's certainly been around, and it's not one of those that I think a lot of people have more issues with body positivity and what that
Hmm.
really means and what that looks like. I think progressive, because it's a term that I've used before in my older work, works for me. I think shows like this are progressive. So whether you like it or not, it is on Peacock. They're talking about thruples. And so it doesn't mean that you have to be progressive, but like
Yeah.
anybody that has a Peacock subscription is going to be privy to couple to throuple, and they're talking on being progressive in their sexuality. And so while you might not be, it is being currently shown on Peacock, maybe not Disney, but Peacock.
Yeah.
And that's why we have guests like this on this show. And I just think it's a little bit more nuanced and works a little bit more for me and just what we're actually seeing in the ethosphere right now. It doesn't mean that you have to be, it's just, but it is happening. It is moving forward. And
Yeah.
if you choose to, you can learn a lot from shows like this.
Oh, yeah, I definitely agree with you. I think that my point was it's going to be difficult to get the entire society to be sexually progressive. I personally feel like I am sexually progressive, but I feel like society, it's going to be difficult to move minds in that direction. I feel like being sex positive is already a leap. So I think that sexually progressive is an even further unreachable goal. So I think that for me, I think that sexually progressive actually does work for me because I strive to be sexually progressive every day. I try and have all the sex and progress in all the sex all the time. So I think that term does fit me, but I think at large,
Yeah,
should
and
probably
and
be.
and we're really parsing out words here, obviously, because you can make it personal to you. Are you sex positive or are you sex progressive? Or is a show sex progressive, like
Mhm.
couple to throuple, and or is it sex positive? I mean, you can't do anything about a show that's currently on Peacock. It's there. So if you have a Peacock subscription and you're not there yet, it's there anyway, and you're going to have to like confront it. It doesn't, there, those people on that show could be progressive, but you can deny it all you want, but it's there on your subscription, is my point.
Yeah.
And so I think we're parsing out whether it's personal to you or just in general. Body positivity can be a thing out there, or it could also be a personal thing just to you. But so it's how you look at the nouns and the verbs and the
Yeah. It's and again, it's something that is very personal to each person. So
Yeah.
I think that you have to decide for yourself whether or not you want to be sexually progressive or sex positive, because I think that both are valid. And I think that as far as your comfortability is concerned, that's where you make the final decision. And
And I'm just saying that Vakaya is coming from not you, but Vakaya is sex progressive.
and that's amazing.
They're saying that, and versus sex positive. They're not saying you have to be. It's
Yeah.
so it's versus you or I. And I feel like you're making it I, and it just is,
Yeah. No, I hear
that says
you.
you're writing a Karen over with your viewpoints, but
I just think it might be a little bit unreasonable to try and get the Karens out there to be sexually progressive, because I'm not trying to convince anybody to be sexually progressive. I think that is something
or positive, right?
Yeah, or positive. Well, I kind of am trying to convince people to become sex positive, but I think that progressive might be too much for a Karen. She's out here; she can't come get in a sling. I'm not trying to see a Karen in a sling.
No. Well, I stand by sex progressive. You stand by positivity, but you're here for the other one.
I like both of them. But
okay, final word.
Yes, I like both of them, but I do think that we should probably focus on the society being more sex positive so that we can at least get some of that in there. What about your final word?
I don't think of it like for everybody. I just think it's just a terminology. It's just a shift. I'm not making it like I want you to say this and you to say that and you have to think positive and you have to, or progressive. I'm just saying progressive just is a little bit more like we're seeing it happen with shows like Couple to Throuple, and so I just think it is progressive, and so I'm not putting it on you or anybody to take it on. It's just we're living in a more sexual progressive, and I want to live in a more sexual progressive society. Okay, moving on. Let us know how you weigh in on that, and we will report this on our next episode. You can always go to tagspodcast.com and email us via that, or we will give our handles at the end of the show, and you can certainly DM us and let us know, because it's kind of like an interesting thing to consider and weigh in on. One of the things we like to do on this show is follow up when we've had a story that was a hot topic. And recently we were talking about the reboot, the Queer Eye reboot, and there was a lot of drama there with Jonathan Van Ness, with a dossier practically being called a nightmare, a monster, being demeaning to other members that he was filming with. And this was not just any publication that put this out. It was actually Rolling Stone magazine. But one of the things that they said in that Rolling Stone article was that Tan France, another of the Queer Eye cast members, secretly wanted to get rid of Bobby Burke and replace him with his friend. Who was his friend? Well, it's the current cast member that actually did make it on. And do you have his name? Because I had it here a second ago. That's actually going to replace Bobby Burke.
His name is Jeremiah Brent. Right.
So it prompted Tan to come forward because of this Rolling Stone article to say that Jeremiah is my friend, he is being cast. All I could do was present to Netflix my friend, and they ultimately casted him. In other words, he just wanted to X himself out of this drama and say that I had nothing to do with it. In the end, he just happens to be my friend. I don't know. I think there's a lot of drama over there at Queer Eye. And I don't remember Queer Eye for the Straight Guy, the OG cast that many of them I love, we've met, I adore, have any of this drama. What is going on over there at Queer Eye? And how do you weigh in?
They need to get that couple to Throuple production, because I think that this is it's a mess. And I think that Tan France is hiding something. I'm going to call him the new, what's the lady from Mean Girls? The one with the secrets in her hair. Anyway, he's got great hair, and I bet it's holding a lot of secrets because he's hiding something, because he definitely probably got, allegedly, Bobby Burke, a little bit misconstrued because he just didn't sign his renewal for the new season. And I think that is an issue. And I think that Tan is the ultimate behind the scenes Bengali as far as this is concerned.
Ooh.
So I'm watching her.
Yeah, I know, right? It's just a little bit too much drama. Do you think, final question on this one, do you think it will help the new season or hinder?
I think that initial drama was helpful for the season. I think this making Tan France, he didn't have to respond. Why did he even respond? I think that this is making him look really bad, and he should
more
just keep
importantly,
quiet.
should Jonathan respond? Because the whole Rolling Stone deep dive into him being called a monster, wouldn't you want to respond if you were being called that, or would you just lay low? You would never be a monster, but yeah.
Oh, thank you, darling.
Imagine like if on our show, I mean, we would just let you go. And
exactly,
we've had dramas. I talked about it before. We've had like our earlier host, and it didn't work out between he and I. And since I run the show,
there it is.
Got rid of him. So it happens. But I think their stuff is starting to become a little bit like we're starting to learn a little bit more than we really need to know. And it's not like, Taylor Swift or Madonna, dare I say. I mean, it's just like they're Queer Eye. Come on.
It went from cute shade to a little bit toxic.
Too much. Like we're learning way too much than we need to know about. And you're right. I like that. Cute shade to toxic. Somebody that we want to shout out to is Lady Gaga and Dylan Mulvaney. Well, it recently was National Women's Day, and both of them, Lady Gaga and Dylan, did a really beautiful message to women, correct? And sadly, they got a lot of backlash across the country because we're so divided, prompting Lady Gaga to write this. It's appalling to me that a post about National Women's Day by Dylan Mulvaney and me would be met with such vitriol and hatred. And when I see a newspaper reporting on hatred but calling it backlash, I feel it is important to clarify that hatred is hatred, and this kind of hatred is violence. Backlash would imply that people who love or respect Dylan and me didn't like something we did. This is not backlash. This is hatred. Okay, see the difference between words, Kodi? I love language, but it's not. I love language, but it is not surprising given the immense work that it is obvious we still have to do a lot for the society. She goes on to say a lot more, which I can post on tags. Podcast.com, reference episode 549. But Kodi, what do you think about Lady Gaga? I mean, were they asking for this given our divided state that we're in? And what do you think about Lady Gaga's response?
I love Lady Gaga. I think that she is such an ally to our community, and she's an incredible artist with an incredible voice, and she is doing the damn thing. And I think a lot of this backlash for Dylan Mulvaney and the trans community is rooted in transphobia, and it's really scary. And I don't understand why people are so divisive on this. I don't think that trans women are trying to replace cisgender women.
They're not.
I think they're not.
But
I don't think they are.
Yeah.
They're an important part of our society.
And it's progressive, Kodi, to include transgender people into the conversation of National Women's Day. It is a progressive act to bring in our allies and our transgender community. Do you see where I'm going with this?
I see where you're going, and I'm progressive. Okay, these other people ain't progressive.
I'm not letting it go.
We're trying to get them to positive, honey, because all of this wouldn't happen if they were positive. If they were being positive about sex and gender, then all of this would not be happening. But I think progressive is a reach. Final answer.
Silence.
Silence.
I've heard enough, because I've been accused of not giving enough time to this next segment, which we will. I promise. I'm not naming names. I'm not naming names. But
not me, y'all.
Apparently, people like Thirst Trap, and we were in danger, girl. In danger of not even having this segment when straight up gay porn was hacked. And hacked in a way that it was looking like we may never have any more thirst traps or anything that straight up gay porn produces. Thank goodness there's some firewalls that straight up gay porn has put forth. And I am devoting the next, we might even go overtime because I don't want to be accused of this anymore, of not giving this segment enough time. You're racing through it, is what I was told. I'm like, okay. The people have spoken. Okay, you know who you are.
Tell me backstage.
This is a segment we call Thirst Trap, and typically we are a audio podcast. And Straight Up Gay Porn does this beautiful thing where this week are asking, out of these 10 gay porn stars, who took the best photo? And it's our job, because we are typically an audio podcast, to vividly describe in an auditory way why we chose the one we do it. And if you're watching live, and I'll post this on tagspodcast.com referencing episode 549, it's your job to actually vote, and please vote at the end of it. Okay, well, did you have a chance to look at these hot and sexy men?
I did, but I'm going to wing it. I did pick a favorite, but I'm going to wing the description because I don't have time to write a description. But you want me to go first?
Sure.
Yeah. So my vote this week goes to Lydian Gray. He's the last one on the list, and he is in a car. He's got his tank top pulled up to see that nice, hairy, beautiful chest. And he's got his blue shorts lifted up.
Turquoise slash tie-dye.
Thank you, darling. He's got them pulled up to expose that big, fat Lydian cock. He's a bald man. You know, I am not wearing a hat today because of bald unity. Me and Lydian Gray, we're of the same ilk right now.
It's very progressive, Kodi, to just be bald, I think.
I think I really picked this because I love some roadhead, and I think that this is taking me back to when I used to have a car and I used to get sucked off in that car, and it was amazing. What do you think?
Car sex is a real thing, and there's a guy. I'm going to start looking up Lydian now based on this picture and your description. But there's a whole thing about like outdoor sex, and there's a guy. Can't think of his name right now, but all of his videos are based on going to certain parts wherever he lives and rolling down the window and letting people watch him, or he lets people jerk them off. Do you know who I'm talking about?
I know, but I don't know his name. I have to go look him up right now.
So this is reminding me of that. And the guy we're talking about is really sexy and hot. This guy has even like a sexier body and all that. So I applaud you. Mine guy is right above him, and I must have been in a big cock mode because I'm talking about Silas Brooks, who, for all intents and purposes, I'm sure he wouldn't mind me calling him a twink because he has a very twink body and great hair and everything, chiseled looks, but very twink-like in many ways. And he's got the most thickest cock ever. It looks about 10 inches and it stands straight up, and a nice ball sack too. I think the hair around his cock is perfect. It's not too much. It's not too much of a bush. And for those that accuse others for shaving too much of it off, there's a happy trail there. So do not get mad at it, because we are all about worshiping his beautiful cock, and it's thick, and I've seen him in action too on the Twitter, and it's very nice. And so mine goes to Silas Brooks, and that's why I pick him. Looks like Bryce is picking Lydian Gray for me. Second, Will Duarte is his pick. And yeah, I think, Really
A
good
lot of good
stuff, right?
submissions today. Yeah. Wow. We
What a
were on
great-
the same page. Look at that.
Yeah. I hope that's enough time on the segment, but we've got to move on because it's the end of the show and I've got to make a dinner because it's only 7 o'clock here in LA
Yeah,
and
get
I'm
it.
flying back to New York tomorrow and gonna see you. So I'm
I'll see
excited.
you.
Yeah.
Remy.
Well, you can follow Kodi. He has a brand new single out that is available everywhere, and it's called Talk About It. And it's so good. It's inspired by our show, Talk About Gay Sex. You've got to download it. It is sexy. It's disco. His voice is featured. Talk About It wherever you download and get your music. I'm talking about Spotify and Apple Music and on and on and on. You can follow him on the gram. He's a life coach as well. As if he didn't have enough time, you can follow him at KMD Coaching, but also follow his personal account for some thirsty pics at Mr. Maurice, at Mr. Maurice. Follow me on the gram. I am _Steve V. Follow me on Twitter at Tags Podcast, where you get a preview of my OnlyFans, which is onlyfans.com/sexy poppy Steve V. And I've been shooting a bunch of stuff. Don't forget about our sponsor, Joy Mode, where you get 20% off. Use joymode.com/tags and use our promo code tags for 20% off plus free shipping. And thanks for everybody watching. Thanks to Brody of Couple to Throuple. Thanks to everybody else watching us live. And in the meantime, continue having hot
Gay
sex. Yes.